All right, guys, I'm going to break down a commercial that we shot a couple months ago, and it's a very cinematography heavy commercial, and I thought it would be a great project to kind of break down the lighting and camera work to show you guys what I did to kind of approach this low budget commercial. So basically the whole concept was going to take place in a white studio. Now, white studios are so boring. Like there's just like, especially when it's a small white box like what we had. It was so boring. There was no layers of depth or anything like that. So we had to create layers of depth with lighting. So I had two lights. I had enough money to get two lights. I had a Nova 300 and an Aputure 600D with a spotlight attachment. So I knew I wanted to create these layers of depth. So what I did was I created this hard slash with a spotlight attachment on the 600D, just off of set behind camera. And I hit the floor and the wall and I shaped it into this rectangular shape. And what that did, it created this layer of depth through different layers of lighting. So this light was just going to texture the wall. So I needed some sort of fill light slash key light. And I knew that we needed the amount of space in the box because it was so small. We needed to move the camera around with this robotic arm. So I put a light in the ceiling in a softbox, which is an 8x8 softbox, which is like basically like a big cube, and it has like this diffusion, and you wrap it in black fabric to stop the spill of the light. And what that does, it creates a concentrated pool of light coming downward. This was really fun to use because it was just off of set. I could control the Aputure Nova with the Side Slink app, which was really great. But the one thing that Lightbox can't actually move around. So I actually had to move around the models in the space so that the light would shape perfectly on their face. If I, for example, had the models directly under the light, you would just be hitting the hat and wouldn't be getting their faces or anything like that. So if I wanted the character to have more of a sidey key light, I would just move them to the edge of the softbox where the light would hit the side of their face, bounce off the ground, and hit back and return on the side of their face, as well as like bringing in some flops to like create some negative fill, because I kind of kept this project pretty contrasty because it was very like, you know, hyper stylized kind of look, which I really liked. We have the softbox up here in the ceiling. This is the softbox, and the light is pushing downward onto the shoe, and you can see this beautiful soft gradient of shadow. And that's because the light is so soft coming from above. From the Nova, since the Nova is already really soft, plus the diffusion, it creates this beautiful softness. And then you can see the 600D just kind of like blasting in the background, creating this shape of rectangular shape back there, and it just looks so good. It just creates these layers, and you can see the gradient of shadow up here because we, you know, use duvetine to kind of bring this down and cut off the light spilling onto the background. So we had all these layers of shadow and light happening. So that's kind of what it is. You really want to play with different layers of light and, you know, shadow, because if you just had blasting a front light or something, or if it was just all evenly lit, it would look really flat. We had the softbox in the middle of them, right? And it was hitting her really nicely. You know, the softbox was hitting down, and then probably the light was bouncing off the ground and then bouncing back up and filling in the shadows underneath her hat. But on this guy, I placed him further back or further away from the softbox, so the light wasn't hitting him. And it was just bouncing off the ground and then hitting his cheek here and creating some sort of edge. And he was kind of more silhouette-y, which was really neat. You can actually see maybe a little bit of the softbox hitting his hat here. Maybe the hat was kind of blocking the light from actually hitting his face. And then I think I had like a tube over here, just kind of pushing, hitting the back of his neck here, and also kind of pushing and hitting her face here to fill that in. You can kind of see that this light from over here, this Pavo tube, is also kind of filling in this wall over here because it's a little bit brighter in this area compared to like this wall over here. But, you know, I think it still has that beautiful gradient. You can still see that gradient. It's still dark over here, which is really nice. And then obviously we have the 600D hitting the back wall here. Only thing I wish was if it was a little bit longer, extending against the ground. That would be kind of cool, but we had a limitation with the lens size. So with this guy, same thing. I kind of placed him on the edge of the softbox. Softbox is over here. Light was hitting the ground, and then kind of bouncing back up and filling in his skin, and then having the tube light over here, just pressing some light over here onto his face and kind of reshaping the light, because you can see that the top light is kind of hitting the hat, and the hat is stopping the light from actually hitting his face. So I had to bring in just like a little bit more. You could do the same thing with a bounce board, but I don't think I was going to get enough light from the bounce board, so I just kind of used the tube light. So this was a really cool shot. Same lighting setup. Like, guys, it's so simple, right? Like same lighting setup. We have the 600D hitting back here, right? Hitting this beautiful back wall with this like beautiful soft kind of highlight here. And then we just have tube light over here again, kind of pushing light onto her, and then also kind of wrapping around, hitting the, you know, Northwood here, and then the softbox coming from above, just kind of edging her a little bit there as well. Pretty cool, pretty simple. This is kind of a fun shot here. Same thing, 600D kind of hitting the background here, and then the light is just kind of spilling onto his hand from above, and then the ground is bouncing back up and creating this reflection in the golf club, which gives us a beautiful like three-dimensional look. It's happening on both sides actually, which is so cool. It's like edging it, but then also edging it on this side. It just gives that kind of like three-dimensional look. So that backlight, you know, all these textures, just so cool. I love it. You can see also how soft the quality of light is on his arm, and that's coming from the overhead light. And in this case, it's his key light for this, not a fill light anymore. Now the softbox was really handy because it was just sitting there, but there was times where the light was just too backlit or just too, you know, toppy, where the hats that they were wearing, because they were all the models were wearing baseball hats because that was part of the brand. No light was getting past the baseball hat, right? Because it has this brim. So, and if the light is coming above, it's just gonna hit the hat and not their face. So what I did, I just brought like a pavo tube, a 4-foot pavo tube, and just wrapped the light around really softly with like a diffusion frame. And I just move that around as needed, just to wrap that key light around so that you can see that they have that soft kind of, you know, key light wrap, that sidey light that's kind of happening on their face. And that was kind of a really nice addition. But besides that, I had no other lights. It was just those three. So I think it's really fun to see how you can take very little things and make the best out of it. And I think with technology now, it's getting easier to get really amazing images from really little amount of equipment. So, you know, we had just those 3 Aputure lights and it just worked out really nicely. And it's just about positioning your lights, right? And using negative fill, using contrast, using different layers of lighting to create interest in your frame. So, you know, creating this beautiful hard slash on the background and this floor just created this beautiful kind of depth to the whole set, because we had no production design or any money to put into that. So that just kind of gave a little bit of pop to the frame. And also I find the highlights just allowed the audience to draw their attention to that light. It's like a bright spot in the frame. And the softbox was really awesome because we were able to kind of wrap it in this black duvetine or black fabric material. And that had basically allowed it to take the light off of the back walls. If I didn't have that black fabric around the softbox in the ceiling, the light would just spill everywhere and all those walls in the background would look really flat and lit up. And basically acted as like a big flag, just kind of taking that spill off and just creating this concentrated light in the middle of the set where the models would be. Now we were shooting on 2 Alexa Minis. We had one on the robot arm, and the robot arm is really cool. It's called the Bolt robot arm or something like that. The Bolt. Yeah, I think it's the Bolt. It's really cool technology. It allowed us to get these fast shots between like characters or from the golf clubs up to the character. And it was really cool and fun to play with. One thing that I learned from that though was it's really slow to program the robot arm in the camera movements. So what we would have to do was we would get some handheld shots or some tripod shots on the second Alexa Mini, just so that we could save time and get more shots and weren't just waiting for the robot arm the whole time. We shot on the Master Primes, which is phenomenal glass. They're very sharp, but they have this beautiful butteriness to them, and they're really fast. They're like 1.4 or 1.2, I can't really remember, but they're really fast and massive lenses. They're like the size of my head. It's ginormous. And I really wanted that shallow depth of field so that we would get the separation between characters and this huge, distorted kind of disproportionate size between models and like the golf clubs and everything. And the robot arm was only on the 8mm lens, I believe. And that was because I really wanted that really intense, wide close-up look, which I thought was really cool. And we got some slow shutter stuff. You can see some of these frames, they look really shaky, or the slow shuttery movement. And that was because I made a slower shutter on the Alexa Mini, and that just kind of created this wispy kind of look to it. It was really cool. And the reason why we shot on the Alexa Minis was because they have open gate. And open gate was really important for this project because it allows you to get the whole sensor. You can basically get your vertical videos from that whole sensor readout. So that's why we kind of shot open gate. And that's most of the time why I shoot open gate for commercials, just so that we have the capability of going vertical and not cropping too much into the frame. Anyways, guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like button and a comment if this helped at all, or if you guys want to see more of these lighting breakdowns from projects I've done. I I hope you guys stick around, subscribe, and join the community. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.